work with dash cams a lot in my job. See a lot of people use them. I always thought it was kind of weird. People think that they answer all your questions in an accident, but I think they raise more questions than they answer. My personal opinion. People are going to sue you anyway, no matter what a video shows. They'll claim, something happened off the video. You couldn't see it. Does it really stop anything from happening? No. Some people swear by them, though. What I see every single day, twice a day. How many cities I drive through in a day. It's got to be 7 at least, maybe 12 if you count going through the same city twice. Probably do that at some point. Broken down a lot on this drive. Alternator went out on I-70. That happens. Your flashers don't work. So that gets dicey. I get into one accident in this car. It's pretty much total. Because it's going to cost more to fix it than it's probably worth. And you get stuck with a salvage title, probably. And then you're really out of luck. This car was probably $60,000 new. 20 years ago, that was probably close to $100,000 in today's money, maybe more. First driven by Tom Watson, the golfer, and then later brought into my wife's family, and then passed on to us. Garage most of its life, well maintained, although the sound system doesn't work very well, which is how you end up throwing a camera in the dash because you're so bored. You can turn on the talk radio, that works, but CDs, no good. Tape deck used to be good. I think it went out a few years ago. I used to listen to audio tapes on tape, like actual tape. It was alright. Audio quality doesn't really matter for that stuff, so it's alright. But it needed a cleaning head or something, and believe it or not, in 2020, it's pretty hard to find a cassette tape cleaner. Okay, roundabouts have come back to Kansas in the last 15 years. Someone in the state DOT got an idea and started putting them in. First saw them outside of Junction City, Abilene area, and they've made their way here. Cheaper than a traffic control sign, although I Can't get out of my head the image of that guy in Arkansas who drove through a town square's roundabout. Had a beautiful Christmas nativity scene, and he drove straight through the roundabout at about 50 miles per hour and caught on video. Surveillance videos catch a lot of good accidents, more so than dash cams, I think, because you've got a side view of the vehicles. Here, you're looking at my hood. You're not even necessarily seeing what I see, and I think that's important, because cameras have a view that is the camera's view. Sometimes they're way down in the dash, and the driver isn't seeing what the camera's seeing. And a lot of people make that mistake and say, well, if we see it on this camera, you saw it in your seat. And I don't think that's accurate. Also, people are expected to be looking away. You're expected to be looking at your dash controls and your mirrors and things like that. You're not going to see everything. Not everything a camera sees. I've probably handled hundreds of different. See that guy? Everybody turns their brights up. And it blinds me for 5 seconds or so. It's pretty rude. We've done okay. We've made it to 250,000 miles. I'm responsible for less than half of those miles myself. I remember the car having 155 or so around the time we got married. The question is, how far will it go? Will it hit 300? 350? I've seen, this is the first generation Escalade built on its own, separate from GMC in this model year. I've seen them hit 320,000 miles. So there's potential. There's hope. You say, James, you claim to be a person of some success. Why do you drive a car that maybe doesn't send those signals? I certainly heard it from other people. My boss, people like that. They think that I am driving a car outside my station, maybe. But I'll tell you, I think this is probably one of the best cars ever built. It has features that are simply not replaceable on an affordable basis. To buy a car like this today is what you could have bought a house with a few years ago, and I'm not comfortable spending that on a car. This, and especially newer ones that have more things to maintain, are not necessarily safer. Everything's plastic. At least this car is a lot of plastic, but it's got a lot of metal too. Gross weight is important in safety. Google the gross weight of your vehicle and think about it. This vehicle's gross weight is over 7,200 pounds. That's more than a lot of pickup trucks. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? It's not good for gas. But I don't mind paying for gas. Because I'm driving a tank. I'm safe. What are the two elements that keep you safe in a crash? Coming from a crash professional. 1. Heavy. Be in something heavy. And the force is absorbed around you, not on you. 2. Height. Be up high. You take an impact down low, it's your head. You take an impact up higher, it's your ribs. Ribs grow back. Faces, not so much. More like brain stems, and you can be decapitated if you're too low and you hit a semi-truck just right. go underneath them. Now you're protected in the rear because of something called an ICC bar, but on the side, side guards are not 100% implemented, and they're not, science is not conclusive on them. So if you go under the side of a semi-trailer, which I've unfortunately seen in my career, your head comes off. It'll roll into the floorboard, and the coroner will note the lint in your brains. So if you can be high versus low, you're better off. The higher, the better. Semi-truck drivers are some of the safest people in accidents. Not always, but often, because they are high and they are in something heavy. Another thing I've seen, trucks, people think a pickup truck is safe by definition. I don't agree with that. The lighter the truck, the worse off you are for a lot of reasons. Especially a day cab truck that just has a sheet of metal behind it. So imagine you're hit from behind. You have a sheet metal bed being forced into a sheet metal firewall behind your seat. How do you think your back's going to take that? You're going to need to be going fast. What happens if you're smashed between two vehicles? You have a steering column coming into your chest cavity with an airbag, hopefully, but then you have a truck bed being propelled into your back through a metal firewall. Not ideal. Now, there are trucks, the 3/4 ton class above, that weigh more than this car. Weigh around 9,000 to 10,000 pounds gross vehicle weight, often have crew caps. A crew cap gives you a little bit of space. It gives you a buffer zone for the bed to crumple, for you to move. Maybe your seat can break and move backwards. I've seen a lot of people safe in 250 class trucks. I've seen someone hit head on in an F-250. It was an older one, but that also means heavier. Hit head on a state highway, 2-lane highway. He's going his speed, they're going their speed. That's over 100 miles an hour force. The man, his wife, his dog were okay. And I think that's remarkable. And if I buy another car, that's the one I've got my eye on right now. It's more than an Escalade. Makes me really kind of come back and say maybe a new Escalade isn't so bad. How much is that extra 1,000 to 2,000 pounds worth in the event of a collision, which is only a small percentage of your driving, but can also change or end your entire life. It's difficult to factor that risk, and I do it for a living. So for a lot of you, if you're listening, you've maybe never thought about these issues or how to process them. Probably have good instincts though. We all have the instincts that say we feel a little bit safer in a truck. And I know I dogged on trucks, but think about this. The cabin space of a truck is so much bigger than a car. Even if you are in a single cab truck, you feel the space around you, don't you? And I think that's significant because that gives space for shock to be absorbed. Gives space for the truck itself to crumple and not crumple you. And even think about how far back your seat can go. It can go back a lot further in a truck than in some cars. I could roll back the seat to the point that I could barely reach the pedals. In a lot of cars I drive today, I can't do that because the seat is simply fixed and the space is fixed, and that's that. You think about the fact that your seat can go back quite a bit further, that gives you buffer space, right? If you are a semi-truck driver, I think your two biggest risks are taking off your seatbelt while you're on the side of the road, and then you get hit by somebody behind you, someone doesn't see you, or Sometimes people just pull off the road and hit a semi in the shoulder. I mean, it's insane. But if you're parked on the shoulder, you are in danger. And if you take your belt off, you're in much more danger than being rear-ended at highway speeds, right? If you're rear-ended at highway speeds by someone going 10 miles faster than you, big whoop. But if you are rear-ended going 0 and they are going highway speeds, this is a lot of force. And you have no forward momentum to absorb that. I've seen very bad things happen to people who stop, who get out of their car. I want to buy road flares, keep one in my door. But you've also, the problem with road flares is you need distance from your stopped vehicle. And the only way to get that distance is to get out and walk it, place the flare, place the cone. It gives a warning and chance for the driver to actually merge over or slow down. If you just have a flare or hazard lights on at your car, it's not enough time for the driver to perceive the risk and to know necessarily to stop or pull over. And I say that in the sense of assuming all drivers are just at a baseline of negligence or looking at their phone. That is not to say that I'm in a case with me and you can argue that and be successful, because a good driver is always thinking that these lights ahead of me may not be moving. These hazard lights may mean more than I'm just going below the speed limit because I'm heavy. You've got to be thinking about what's around the corner. I grew up in Missouri. Some of the most dangerous roads in the country, these two-lane state highway roads. Whenever somebody wants to raise the speed limits on Missouri highways, I just get furious because they're so dangerous. People die on them all the time. And to raise the speed limit just means people will drive that much faster the roads just aren't built for it. It's not safe. It's not smart. Please don't ever raise the speed limit from 55. People are already going 60, 65. And it's just not safe. Noticing my speed doesn't show in these videos. I thought that my speed would show. Kind of a pointless dash camera if it doesn't show speed. Not that it's accurate necessarily, but it's very helpful if you really want to get use out of a dash cam. It's very useful to prove your speed, because even when you don't actually cause an accident, be accused of speeding. And if you were speeding for the conditions, then you're negligent. Your insurance company will spend all their money and then hold it against you for having a loss that maybe you weren't responsible for. You'll pay more in premiums or just get cut off of that company and have to shop around with a loss on your record, and that's not cheap. 7 in the morning. I feel like I deserve credit for being up at this hour, but the truth is, it's against my wishes. If I don't have to commute, which maybe one day a week I don't or so, I'll sleep in until 7, which is a sign I'm not getting good rest. You should wake up without prompt if you're getting good rest. If you're needing to sleep in, it means you have a sleep debt, in my view. Maybe Cadillac someday says, hey, Jim, here's a new Escalade for your commutes. Earned it. And everybody gets excited, you know. I don't even need to own the car. Just let me, you know, borrow it for a year, like Tom Watson's. There's an interesting rig next to me. Good running lights. Running lights help with conspicuity at nighttime. Maybe you'll get a view of it as he passes me. Clearly no speed limiters, but pretty good conspicuity. A few of those lights are not as bright. They can use replacement. It's an agriculture truck, grain hauler, most likely. Those folks are not big on regulation. That's why he passed me going more than the speed limit. For a truck driver, that can be a very expensive ticket. But, unfortunately, the regulatory environment in which trucks are in, they just can't afford to spend the time to be slow. And that is due to driver pay, it is due to absence of parking, it's due to a lot of issues that make their lives very difficult. So if you see a truck in a hurry, stay out of their way. Stay out of their blind spot. They're trying to make it illegal for trucks to drive faster than the speed limit, or faster than certain speeds. And when you've got a car like this Honda over here to my left, in your blind spot, what's the best thing you can do? Speed up and get away from them, because they're putting themselves in danger and they're putting you in danger. And the government says, well, no, you're just going to have to stay stuck at 62 next to grandma going 60, and there's nothing you can do about it. But you sure better not need to change lanes, because there's a car next to you lollygagging in your blind spot. It's very dangerous. And how do you know when that car's clear? How do you have the capacity, the brain capacity, to monitor that blind spot consistently while monitoring all the other systems and safety requirements of your ongoing driving? It's unreasonable. It's unreasonable. And they take the extreme examples, right? The extreme example of the guy who falls asleep and goes up to 90 miles an hour with a fully loaded truck and knocks out a line of cars that are stopped on the interstate. Okay? That's bad. It's really bad. But it's also the extreme instance. Do we need to legislate over everybody because of that one time? You know, and this applies to tons of issues, I suppose. That one incident in New Hampshire, they wanted to ban dogs on your lap while you're driving. And it comes from a good place, because somebody had a dog on their lap and almost killed a kid or something in the street, right? But what does that do to the rest of the dog-loving community who putters around town to the groomers or the grocery store or something with their dog? You know, that legislator is probably going to have to resign or something, because this proposal is infuriating to people, especially in a live free or die state. My goodness. Good intentions with seemingly good ideas often lead to bad ideas. But I'm no expert. Actually, I might be an expert. I don't know. I'm giving a speech in a couple weeks. Maybe I'm an expert on some of this stuff. Doesn't matter. We're all experts when we know it's true, deep down. That's your expert. That's your inner expert. Doesn't take any specific degrees. Got a little sunrise action. Support that. So sunrise will probably go away, but then we'll be back on 70 going east in a few minutes. We got that going for us. Approaching 30 minutes of a commute. I had no idea how difficult speaking for 30 minutes to myself would be. Usually that time feels fast if you're in a trial or a debate or a mediation. I can talk for 30 minutes when I've planned it. I think that's the trick, is plan what you want to discuss. If you plan it right, you'll have lots to say. But I'm also not going to look at written materials while I'm driving. The last thing you want to do is make anything more unsafe or less safe. You do drive by accidents sometimes, especially on snowy days. You're crossing an entire metropolitan area, driving on at least 3 different highways. You will see things. I've seen a lot of things that I don't care to repeat. Both at work and on my own personal drive. I've seen people I'm pretty sure were dead, in real life. Obviously, I've seen plenty of dead people in my occupation. Oh, did you see that guy? What a loser. Crossed over 2 lanes right in front of people. You gotta be prepared for anything. That's why I don't speed. A, I think speeding is bad for this car. It's a heavy car. It's not made to drive at high speeds. B, the peak speed for fuel economy for most engines is between 55 and 65 miles per hour. So if you're at 65, you're already at the peak fuel efficiency for your engine. And I can tell you something. Regulated environment in which cars are manufactured today, there's no way that they have raised that peak speed. In fact, it's probably gone down to some extent. Maybe it's stayed the same because they want to get the MPGs down. They want to get up. They want higher MPGs across the fleets, which means the closer they can make that peak speed to realistic highway speed, the better. Because when they put highway MPG numbers down, they want those to test as high as possible. Not for the consumer's benefit, but for the manufacturer's benefit. They are required to meet certain benchmarks in terms of efficiency. And I'm sure they rig the tests to where, the vehicle never goes over the speed limit or something. It'd be a good thing to look up. But yeah, I don't speed. Is it more dangerous because people are passing me? Maybe. But should I be more more dangerous because other people are being more dangerous? I don't know. Vehicle interactions are definitely to be discouraged. You don't want to be passed by a lot of people. You want to go generally the speed of traffic. 65 is generally the speed of traffic on these roads, except for people who aren't. But that's one of those things with limiting trucks' speeds with devices that basically govern the truck at all times, right? That's the rule under consideration. But if you do that on say a 70 mile per hour highway, and you're governing all trucks at 63, or even 65 in a 70, that is a dangerous number of interactions, because virtually every other car on that highway is going to be going around you. Or, worse, they're going to get stuck behind you. Oh man. Road rage will come out of the woodwork. It could happen to me at any moment. I just start shouting things that would make your mama blush. I'll do it. I mean, maybe not right now. It's pretty cool, but road rage happens. Unfortunately, it's kind of like the mob mentality. People who would normally not break windows and steal things they can afford to buy suddenly will, because they're caught up in the mentality. That mentality applies to drivers. So you get a driver going 72 miles an hour, maybe on the way to a job interview, or just anything, doing something they want to do. Suddenly they've got to slow down to 65 because you've got, say, one semi is governed at 64, is trying to pass a semi governed at 63 because his dispatcher says hurry up and get to work. Get this load drop, go around it. 1 mile an hour will get you there, 10 miles sooner. Whatever. 10 minutes sooner. So he tries to go around. Then there's a hill. Both semis can't keep up. So what's happened? You block both lanes of the interstate. Alright? And the cars can't go the speed limit. What are they going to do? I can tell you what certain people will do. They will drive in the shoulder at highway speeds around the truck eventually. After 10 minutes of going 65 and a 70, some idiot will do it. And if it's not the one behind the truck, it'll be some jackalope who's 5 cars back and decides to go around the whole line of cars. And what happens when 2 cars decide to drive around at the same time and the one guy turns into the shoulder the same time someone's flying around him in the shoulder? They have a crash. Or they try to go around the full length of a semi-truck in a shoulder at highway speed. It won't happen. You've got rumble strips, you've got debris, you've got the edge of the shoulder. Maybe in a perfectly constructed highway you can pull off that maneuver, but the odds are you're not going to pull off that maneuver. You are going to lose control, either by going off the edge of the shoulder, by the rumble strips causing you to bounce too much on your left hand wheels. You will lose control, and you will either turn to the right, go off the road, but also strike the semi-truck, or turn to the left and strike the semi-truck and spin out. That is not a good accident. That is an ugly accident. You will go off the road, you will probably hit a tree, or maybe more than one tree. You'll probably flip over. And, you've got to ask yourself, is it the government's job to protect idiots like that? Kind of. It is the government's job not to create conditions that cause something. And there are activists out there. OOIDA has made a good video on this. The science is clear that vehicle interactions on the highway are dangerous, especially if you foster those through, say you've got a broken down semi who's stuck in 5th gear or something and just can't go very fast. I've seen them stuck going 20 miles an hour. highly illegal. Those vehicles cause accidents, indubitably, and it's a bad thing. So maybe now we'll get a little more sunrise action. So far I've driven through Kansas City, Missouri, Lee Summit, Missouri, Overland Park, maybe Leawood for a second. Then we'll hit Independence and Blue Springs and Green Valley. So that's a lot of cities, I think. A lot of different people who can give me tickets. That's how I look at it. Have I ever gotten a ticket in this car? I don't think so. Because it's so heavy. I drive it slow. And it's also the natural feel of the car. What does the car want to do? It'll tell you what it wants to do. This car wants gradual acceleration. And it likes to keep it under 2,000 RPMs. So I'm doing that. Even when the speed limit rises to 70, I often don't even hit the 70. The semis aren't doing it. A lot of people just don't care. You'll see that I-44 in Missouri, people don't speed. It's not that kind of road. Some roads have that. I-70 has a culture of right lane, do what you're going to do. Left lane's going to do what it's going to do. And it's all right. That's an example of interactions with vehicles that really, it's not going to be an accident-prone situation. Distressed car here, gonna pull over a lane, be courteous. You never know, that door might fly open and some kid might jump out. You know, I can't tell you the rotten things I've seen happen. All I can tell you is don't be distracted as best you can, and stay well rested, and keep your car in good order too. That helps a lot. I spend a lot of money on this car every year. More than my newer car, actually. But that makes sense. No car payment though. Insurance is cheap. And it's just got the utility that you just aren't going to get anywhere else. It's got all the benefits of a truck with a camper shell, but also a full third row with 3 seats that you can insert or remove when you need it. It's covered, so your things are covered. And, even trucks with bed covers, they've got, rain will penetrate the truck bed, even with the cover on. So, kind of like, what's the point? Here I can fit a 2x4 in the car. I can fit a full-size ladder in the car. I mean, you can. A lot of furniture items will fit in here. I mean, it's really just hard to beat. I deal with a lot of cars at work, and I see how they hold up. I see the insides of them, and I see what it costs to fix them. I see what they sell for, and I just think most of them are rip-offs, being honest. I'm sure not going to go into debt for that thing over there, Nissan something. I'm not going into debt for that. You want to borrow $30,000 to drive that thing? I don't. Look at that thing. A Jeep. Yeah, I looked at those Jeeps. Pretty weird looking. You want to borrow 28 grand to buy that thing? Not a safe car, I would add. You've got a height. It's a wannabe, right? It's not very high. It's also very light. Has no turning radius, and a poor center of gravity. That thing is going to have fatalities associated with it in the statistics. I can guarantee it. If it's driven on the highway. Driving in the city is a different animal. I have a rule I tell my wife. People don't die on Roe Avenue. Roe Avenue is just a long city street, okay? you're not going to die on that street. You could probably, I mean, maybe if you're on a bicycle and you're not wearing a helmet, you could die on Row Avenue. But where we are now, this is the danger zone. This is the high speed. This is the morons merging in and out. You've got a lot of different cities and people merging onto this. You've got people driving long distances who could be tired, especially early in the morning when the sun comes up. That's when it really hits you when you've been driving all night, right? That's when the exhaustion hits. Good news is there's lots of places for people to pull over here. So the odds of them being on the road, unless they're just really dog-headed, they're low. You can see this is what I'm talking about. This stretch right here, people just kind of slow down right here. This guy's slowing down. I'm going to let him. So you can see it's a 70 zone. We're going closer to 60 for this last couple miles. And it's not a big deal. Green Valley is a big trucking town. People go slow in and out of here. So is Oak Grove, I think. You know, there's truck stops. Gas and diesel are a little cheaper down there, so people keep on going down there. I've never found it quite worthwhile to drive the extra 5 miles for a few pennies, but some people do. I'm alright with it. 43 minutes. We're not even there. So right now we're going about 62. We've been passed by one car. I would also add we're on a pretty steep grade here. I'd knock it at 3%, maybe 2.5%. It's a good grade. So all the trucks slow down. To pass on this road is at this grade. It's difficult on a car. You can see that guy's got a good engine. He's going around. But it's just not worth it, right? You're going to burn so much gas trying to pass. People just slow down. They say, let's crest the hill. And then, guess what? You're going into a valley. It's called Green Valley. It's in a valley. So that's just kind of how that works. A couple people, you'll see there's a guy behind me. He's not in any rush. You can't see it, but there's a few cars that want to go faster, but it's really not a big deal to go slower through here. Told me you've already wasted an hour driving here when he started a sentence. And I wanted to say, you know what, let's not waste this time. How can I use this time? I don't know. I'm not going to call anybody on the phone at that horrible hour of the day. So what is it that I can do with this time of day to be productive or useful? And maybe it's film my commutes and riff on things. Maybe. Probably. Look at gas. Oh, see this guy's pulling off. Seriously dangerous, guys. Did you see a signal there? I didn't see a signal. But you know what? I said it's a trucking town. I tip my hat to all truckers. You stop by the OIDA building. We are your friend. We don't like what you did there only because stupid people could have made that dangerous. And I say stupid, but really, it's just busy people who are preoccupied, people who have stressful lives. It makes you drive stressed. It's not your fault. That's why they're called accidents. I mean, this is a lot of traffic. gas jumped 20 cents overnight last week. It's gone down another couple pennies, but sheesh. I probably spend 20 bucks a day driving this boat out here and back. But you got to ask yourself, and I tell people this, especially professionals who are buying life insurance and stuff. I said, all right, you're insuring yourself to your family. What are you worth, right? Most people, it's up there. It's $500,000, $1 million, maybe more, maybe a little less, but it's a lot of money. If you had an asset that you're valuing at $1 million, are you going to put that asset in a statistically dangerous environment for multiple hours a day? Or are you going to find the safest, smartest way to transport that thing? You know, if you're moving a diamond or a breakable glassware or something, are you going to pack it carefully? Or are you going to just say, throw it in the USPS in a box with a little bit of tissue paper and cross your fingers? I mean, this is a human life. And if you're going to value it at $1 million to some life insurance person, maybe you need to reflect on your transportation choices and say, what is a way to transport this individual that shows I value that individual? And when you look at it from that perspective, it doesn't matter whether your CD player works or whether you can talk on Bluetooth through the car or play your MP3s in the car. Because what really matters, folks, is waking up tomorrow. And with that, we sign off.